Hello friends, welcome back to your own history learning channel, Our Past by Priya Jha. Well friends, in today's video we are going to learn about sources for the history of modern India. And remember that this is part 1 of the video and I have made this video in 2 parts and I am going to tell you why this video has been made in 2 parts and what topics will be covered in both the parts. So please watch this full video. Let's continue. Well friends, when we talk about the sources for learning history, as you can see on the screen, there are sculptures, then there are scriptures, then other archaeological sites, then there are coins and things like that. So these are helpful in learning about the history of a particular period, which is mainly the ancient period or the medieval one. But when we are concerned about learning about the modern period, or in this video when we are talking about modern Indian history, we have ample of sources and we need not much focus on only these ones. So what are the other sources that are available with us? As you can see on screen, there are various paintings. So paintings are very much helpful when we want to learn about the culture or the tradition, so particularly history of a particular period. So friends, let's see what are the various historical sources that are helpful in learning about the modern Indian history. If I will, the first and the most important being archival materials. Well, what are archival materials? We are going to discuss in this video. So let me tell you that this video is completely based upon the archival material. So this is part 1 where we are going to discuss everything about archival materials. Then there are various other sources which are helpful in telling us about the history of the modern times, which include biographies, then memoirs and travel accounts, then newspapers and journals, then oral evidences are there. Well, it also contains creative literature, then the paintings. So these sources are helpful in learning about modern Indian history, and I will cover up all these sources in part 2 of the video. So this video has been made in 2 parts, where in this particular video we are going to learn about archival materials, and in part 2 we will learn about all these other sources of learning the modern history. So let's continue. Well friends, what are archives? Well, we all know that abundance of historical material is available for studying India from the mid 18th century to mid 20th century. So archives are the sources through which we can learn about modern history. Now, what are archives? Well friends, collection of historical records and documents, usually primary source documents, that is those documents which have been part of the system or the administration or the government. So those documents that have been created as a necessary part of some activity, which may include the administrative or legal, social or commercial activities. Well, these are unique and original documents which are not consciously written or created information to a future generation. Well, we can see in some autobiographies or books which are based on a particular ruler, a king, or a famous person from a particular time period may not be 110% correct or genuine, because it might include the views of the historian, because this is human nature. When we are writing about a particular thing or a particular person or a particular time, we may incorporate our own views. In the case of archives, these are not written for the future generation to learn about that time. They include the documents or the papers which are part of the administration or part of the judicial system or part of the executive system. And these are the most important sources because being the most genuine one, they are true, they truly tell us about the system of that time. These are official records and the papers of government agencies at various levels. So these are basically archives which are important source of learning about the modern history. On the screen right now you can see National Archives of India interiors. So you can see here the amount of the papers which are there with this agency, and the headquarters is located at Delhi. So friends, it contains records of East India Company from 1600 to 1857. Then about British Crown, large volume and variety of official records are present because we know that after 1857 the British Crown took over the East India Company. So large volume and variety of official records are present. Well, they help historians to trace every point, every important development stage by stage, and follows the process of decision making and the psychology of the policy makers. Where records of the other East India Company from 17th to 18th century, which include the Portuguese, then Dutch and French, then Danish East Indian Company have also been kept. Well, archival materials have been divided in four categories. Four categories of official records are there, which are central government archives, then state government archives, then records of intermediate and subordinate authorities, and judicial records. Apart from these, there are private archives and archival sources available abroad. So in this video, we are going to discuss about all these archives in detail. Well, the first one being central government archives. Now, what are central government archives? Well, the National Archives of India, located in New Delhi, contains most of the archives of the Government of India. They provide authentic and reliable source materials on varied aspects of modern history. With the appointment of James Rennell as the first Surveyor General of Bengal in the year 1767, the Survey of India began to scientifically map the unknown regions of the country and its bordering lands. So, records, journals, and memoirs not only provide valuable information on the geographical matters but also on contemporary socio-economic conditions and other important historical aspects, which include the system basically that has administration, then judiciary or executive or trade and commerce, then education, then other developments at societal level, or the psychology of the policymakers, of the rulers, or of the general public. Archives are the most genuine source with which we can learn about the history. Well, friends, here you can see the picture of Parliament House. This picture is from 1926, and I have found this picture from the site of National Archives of India. So you can Google it and you can search online. You will find many pictures of our historical period, basically modern history. So all these have been kept safely with the National Archives of India, and here you can see how our Parliament House looked in the year 1926, years before independence under the British India. So, my friends, it includes proceedings that would have taken at place at the time, public, judicial, and legislative departments, then government's policies on education, the development of education, the educational system mainly, then papers bearing on the emergence of the nationalist movement, then the records with the National Archives come under various groups. So this is here important to discuss. The records with the National Archives of India comes under various groups representing different branches of the Secretariat at different stages of its development. It happened as the work of East India Company was distributed among various branches, public or general, revenue and political, etc. So we can see that the work come under various groups. Now let's learn about the archives of the state government. Well friends, these are the source material in the state archives and they comprise the records of the former British Indian provinces, then the erstwhile princely states which were incorporated in the Indian Union after the year 1947, then the foreign administrations other than those of the British, then Indian powers which were taken over by the British, and pre-British public archives, that is Peshwa Daftar of Pune forms the most valuable single source for the study of the Maratha history. So with the help of archives of the state government, we can learn about the history of these particular things. Well, now what are the archives of the three presidencies? Well, the three presidencies being Bengal and Madras and Bombay. So the early records of Fort William, that is Bengal presidency, were lost during the sack of Calcutta in the year 1756, and the archives of the Bengal presidency after the British victory at Plassey, that is in the year 1757, have survived more or less in a complete series, partly available in the National Archives of India and partly in the State Archives of West Bengal. The records of the Madras Presidency begin from AD 1670 and contain plenty of information bearing on the rise of the English East India Company as a political power in the south and in the Deccan, including the Anglo-French struggle and the English conflicts with other Indian powers. So from where we can learn about all these things? Well, these things have been kept secured partly with NIA and with state archives and completely with the state archives, or have been shared with the state as well as the NAI. Now the archives of the Bombay Presidency have been housed in Maharashtra Secretariat Record Office, Mumbai, and are extremely useful in studying the history of Western India, which includes Maharashtra, Gujarat, Sindh, and the Kannada-speaking districts of the erstwhile Bombay Presidency, which were incorporated in Mysore in the year 1956. Now friends, let's learn about the archives of other European powers. Well, so far we discussed about the East India Company basically. Now Portuguese. These have been preserved in Goa from 1700 to 1900 AD. The time period, everything has been preserved. These are valuable for the history of Portuguese possessions in India. Then talking about Dutch. The Dutch records of Cochin and Malabar are in the Madras Record Office and those of Chinsura in the State Archives of West Bengal. Then the French archives of Chandernagore and Pondicherry were taken to the Paris by the French authorities before they relinquished these settlements. And about Danes, they transferred to Copenhagen when the Danes sold Trankebar and Serampore to the East India Company in the year 1845. The remaining records are now housed in the Madras Record Office. So here we can see some records are with us and some records have been taken by these earlier invaders or the earlier East India Companies, which include the French East India Company and the Danish East Indian Company. Now let's learn about the published archives and the private archives. Now friends, what are the published archives? Well, the archives or the parliamentary papers include many excerpts from the records of the East India Company and the government of India under the Crown, and private archives comprise papers and documents of individuals and families of those who played a significant role in the development of modern India, and the papers of eminent leaders of the nationalist movement. Records of organizations like the Indian National Congress are housed in the Nehru Memorial Museum and Library in New Delhi. Well, you all are requested to visit these sites if you have a lot of interest in learning history, because here you may find something useful, beneficial, or you would want to visit the place again and again. Then the archives of banks, business houses, and chambers of commerce are extremely helpful in the study of economic changes. So here we learned about the published archives and the private archives. Now next and the last being foreign repositories. Now what are foreign repositories? When we talk about the England, when we talk about various East India companies, the East India companies belong to a particular country, and now we are concerned about those particular countries. So let's begin from England. The India Office records located in London and the records kept in the British Museum are very valuable. It possesses collections of papers of British viceroys, secretaries of states, and other high-ranked civil and military officials who are posted in India. And when we talk about the French, the Archives National Paris and the archives of the French Ministries of Foreign Affairs and Colonies and Wars have been kept there securely. Then the Dutch, being the records of the Dutch East India Company, is available in Rijksarchief, The Hague, and the Danish and the Portuguese, the records of the Danish East India Company have been kept safe in Copenhagen, and the records of Portuguese have been kept safe at the Lisbon, where Lisbon being the capital of the Portugal. So friends, here we cannot only talk about the East India companies. Well, the records kept at Pakistan safely are also important to be discussed here. The West Pakistan Record Office located in Lahore and Record Office at Peshawar, then records available in Sindh, etc., give information about the regional history of the Indian subcontinent, besides shedding light on India's relations with Afghanistan, Iran, and other neighboring countries in the colonial era. So the records available with the Pakistan are also important when we are a history student or we are someone who wants to learn about the history from not only their perspective or not only the limited sources, but we should be concerned or we should make our perspective wider to learn about something from different sources, because different sources will tell us differently, and then only we can come to our own statements or our own judgments. So thus these archives are very much important when the history of modern in time period is concerned. So that's all about this video. If you like the video, please give it a big thumbs up, comment if you want me to make video on any topic related to Indian history, and please share the video with your friends and all those who are interested in learning history but find the history a boring subject. And please subscribe to my channel for more such videos. And remember that in part 2, I am going to cover all the other subtopics which are helpful in learning about the modern Indian history. So for now, goodbye everyone.